Hey, Jewel fans. We've got a great episode coming up for you with Lauren and Sarah from the creative team behind the Jewel Riders comic out from Maverick. We wanted to also let you know that we are going to have some spoilers in this episode. So watch out if you haven't read the comic and you don't want to be spoiled yet. We also talk about some events that happened in volume one. So I wanted to let you know that as well. So, go out, get those comics, read and enjoy, and then come back and listen to this episode.
And don't forget to listen to the first episode where we discussed the first comic
Right. We
first.
had we have an episode with the writer Jordi Belair and the artist Coy Carrion and Lauren originally that we did when the volume one came out. So please listen to that. I'll link that into the show notes so you can listen. And without further ado, we hope you enjoy this great interview.
By the magic of the Sunstone, you're tuned into the Jewel Riders Archive.
Hey, Jewel fans. I'm Chris.
And I'm Ronnie from the Jewel Riders Archive.
We are back today with the creative team behind the Jewel Riders comic reboot from Maverick and Mad Cave Studios, the comic book publishers. And we are so pleased today to welcome back editor Lauren Hitzhusen and for the first time, colorist Sarah Davidson. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Delighted.
This is so super exciting. I mean, I just have to say, Chris, here we are, a second episode of the comic as a follow-up from the first. I think it's one of those projects where sometimes you're like, I don't believe that I'm really going to see a second one. Oh my gosh, it's here. And it's literally here. Like, it's already been released. I'm so excited for this comic. It's beyond words. I can't even tell you.
Right. It's one of those things where you're like, I feel like I lived in the blessed world when we got the first volume.
Yes. And more than that. Right.
Number
Two. And more than that, though, this is also a birthday gift for someone as well. It is someone's birthday, too. That's so exciting. So let's start it off with birthday girl, Miss Lauren. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself for the listeners who, I'm going to wave my finger at you. You haven't listened to the first episode, so you need to go back and listen to the first episode of our comic review. But now, Miss Lauren, take it away.
Hi, my name is Lauren Hitzhusen. I'm the senior editor for Maverick, which is Mad Cave Studios' young adult imprint. My birthday is technically next week, but I love Jewel Riders so much that the fact that this is coming out so close to my birthday, it really feels like a birthday gift from our publisher, Chris Fernandez. When he put it on the calendar, I was like, you know what? Close enough. Birthday gift to me.
Take it and run. Yeah.
Take it. I'm taking it. One of my earliest childhood memories, I told this on the first episode that I was on, is I was standing in a Toys R Us holding a VHS of Jewel Quest. And I remember thinking, wow, this has everything I could possibly want on the cover of a VHS. It had jewels. It was brightly colored. And I very clearly remember Tamara on that VHS because her hair was so pink. And I fell in love with them right away. And when we are the president of Mad Cave Studios, Mark Irwin asked us a couple of years ago, he said, hey, if anyone has any licenses you think we should pursue, let us know. And I reached out to him and I said, there was this TV show I loved when I was about 5. What are the chances? And he said, sure, write something up. What would you do? Write something up. I'll see what I can do. And it was one of those things where people just kept saying yes. And I kept thinking, surely something is going to happen. And I realized this is an audio format, so y'all can't see me kind of doing this rolling wheel thing with my hand. But things kept happening. And it was just it was a dream come true. And now we're back for volume 2. And I know that volume 1 ended on quite a cliffhanger. One of my best friends in the entire world picked up volume 1, and I got a very, very angry voice memo from her about the ending of volume 1. Her name is Alex. And she said, Lauren, what are you doing to me right now? what is happening? Why would you end a book that way? And I was like, I'm sorry. Books just end like that, I guess.
Right.
And it's fantastic to be back for a second book with the entire team back together. This is such a wonderful team of Jordy and Coy and Sarah, who I'm so happy to have on the show with me today, and Chaz doing the letters as well.
What a story. I mean, that really is one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm loving my job, and now my job has asked me to present something, and I'm like, well, out of the blue, there's this random thing. Some people think it's a fever dream. I'm just going to tell you about it. Sparkly, pink, unicorns, mermaids, jewels. And then you're like, surely someone's going to have something to say about this. Like, it's not going to go through. And then everyone's just like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then even at the release, you're kind of still like, I don't believe it. I'm like, something's going to happen.
There was a moment, I went to a local convention called Comic Palooza shortly after the first book came out, and I hadn't seen the book in print yet. I'm friends with some people that run the Houston Toy Museum, and they happened to stock Jewel Riders, and they had the comic with them at the show, and it was the first time I got to see the book in print. And so I have a series of very dorky photos of me standing on the convention floor holding the photo or holding the book for the first time.
That is adorable, by the way.
Just I'm over the moon with it, and it was just a very special moment. And the fan response to it has been really special as well. And it really, like, I am so honored to have been a part of this team, because the absolute heart that Jordy put into writing it, and Koi's art is beautiful. And Sarah, you're here, and I know you've done interviews with me before, and I'm just going to sit here and embarrass you and talk about how beautiful your coloring is. But the life that Sarah puts into the colors, where it is stunning, it is candy colored and magical and bright, and it feels like the TV show. And Chaz's lettering is beautiful, and I love the little symbols he makes for all the characters. It's just, I'm so glad that we were able to do a book too. Yeah, that's me. I could genuinely talk about this book for 6 hours.
Of course, but we've only got about an hour, so we're going to have to cut it down. But also, I mean, Lauren, I was there with you at the Houston Toy Museum when we were opening up that box, and we were going through all of those toys as we were delivering them. Special care package as I traveled across the country to the Houston Toy Museum. So I've seen firsthand your excitement when it comes to Jewel Riders. You definitely boil over. Okay. So as we're talking about boiling over with pink and magic and sparkles, let's move it right along over here. So Sarah, now you are this colorist that brings the color of the rainbow to Avalon. Tell us, how do you paint with the rainbow? Tell me all about it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Davidson. I'm a graphic novelist and a colorist. I sort of kind of dipped my toe into graphic novel coloring a couple of years ago. My friend Audrey Meeker did her debut graphic novel Swing, and she had asked me to color it for her, and it was so fun and just so relaxing, and coloring has always been my favorite part of the comic making process. And so I was like, you know what, I want to do more of this. I'm just going to keep doing more of this. And, I just kept getting more and more little coloring jobs. And I was a Lisa Frank girly growing up. And I grew up on Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. I love everything magical girl, everything sparkly. I literally have a Sailor Moon tattoo. It's my vibe. It's my jam. And I was working on a different book for another imprint of Mad Cave with paper cuts when I saw just on my Google News feed that Maverick acquired the license to Princess Gwenevere and the Jewel Riders. And immediately I was like, oh my God, I have to be part of this. What is happening right now? And I emailed my other editor at the time. I wasn't working with Lauren. I was working with a different editor. And I was like, right away, I was like, whatever is going on here, like, if you need anybody, if you need an artist, if you need a colorist, like whatever, if you need somebody on this, just know that I'm here. I just exist. She passed my information on to Lauren. Lauren looked at my website and she was like, oh, do you color? And I'm like, yeah, I can color. And that's kind of where it all started. And like right off the bat with our initial conversations, Lauren gave me full license to go as sparkly and shiny and rainbowy and Lisa Frankie as I want. And it was like the most fun, freeing experience because it's like, oh, well, let me just dip into my stash of sparkle brushes and magical effects and just go to town. And like every month when I would get a new chapter of inks in my inbox, like I was just so excited and looking forward to coloring it because I knew it was going to be a blast. I knew it was going to be fun and there would be all kinds of magical effects and spells and cool things going on in 7 different kinds of magic. And it's so my jam. It's so fun. I love this so much.
There's a special magical delivery in your inbox.
I know.
Exactly.
What a great inbox message.
Right? So I've got a couple of follow-up questions then. So my first question is going all the way back to childhood. Were you colored pencils or crayons?
Ooh, I was a colored pencils person for sure. Crayons were always very disappointing to me because like you couldn't get like you couldn't stay inside the lines with crayons.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like we grew up without a lot of money, so I got rose art crayons.
No, not rose art. See, for all the parents listening, don't do it. Don't do it. Only Crayola.
You understand. You get it.
Exactly. Yes. What is your favorite color?
Ooh, okay. That's tricky. I have like a favorite 2-color combo, and it's like a sort of magenta-y red and teal. And those two colors together are
that's that's a great combo.
Yeah, because we got the reds and the greens. So yeah, you got those two.
Sarah,
did you say something, Chris?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, Sarah, did you watch Jewel Riders as a child? Do you remember seeing it in childhood?
I watched a couple episodes when I was a kid, enough to like recognize the name when I saw it. And then I went back and like looked it up on YouTube just to refresh like my memory. And immediately my childhood nostalgia brain was like, Jewel Riders.
Yes.
It was like, oh, this information never left my brain.
Yeah, it's lodged itself right there.
It lives rent free.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of my questions. But the other question then that I was going to ask is, as Lauren has given credit to all these people so that also our listeners understand, you colored the entire project. Is that correct?
Yes. The only thing I didn't color were the covers. So the cover art was colored, I believe, by Koi. And then
the back cover for volume 1 is colored by, we were very, very lucky in that the back cover is done by Natalie Nardoza, who's a volume 1, who's a totally different artist. She's a fan of the original show. And I had the opportunity for volume 1, but I did this also for King Arthur, where I found fans who were also artists. And I reached out and said, hey, I have these licenses. Would you be willing to draw me like a single extra image that I could use for the back cover as a way to kind of further expand kind of the fandom involvement in the shows? And it was, Natalie had like, gosh, I don't know, she had posted on social media like 4 or 5 years ago that it was a license that she wanted to work on. And things on social media live forever. And I had seen that. And it was a really fun email to send.
Guess what?
It also sounds so creepy to say out loud. I'm sorry.
Yes, I saw your post from 4 to 5 years ago. Are you still interested?
That's how we find people, honestly. And they're like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, that was posted on LiveJournal. Yeah, that was in 2006. Well, we dug it up, and here we are 2 decades later. But Coy did the cover art and the coloring for both the first and the second one. Is that correct? Okay. So then, Sarah, you did do the entire project. I think that just so everyone who's listening to kind of understand that it's not like you had an assistant, it's not like you had anyone, that you did all of this, all 40 something pages.
Wow. Yeah, something like that. It was.
Yeah, it's 240 pages total across both
240.
books.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow.
Gotcha. Yeah, lots of coloring with your colored pencils.
I was like, how many shades of pink do you have saved? You're like,
oh my God, my color palette working on this. Like, just my recent color history would be just tons of pinks and purples and blues. Like, yeah, no, I would love it. Yeah.
You were telling me that Tamara's specific shade of teal is not like an available default in the program you use to color. And so you were going back and having to recreate it every time, right?
Yeah, it's just Tamara specifically, her exact shade of hair and her exact teal of her outfit and her cape like don't exist in the printable CMYK color space. So it's like they exist on a screen because a screen is made of light. But once you're trying to create that same pigment with printer toner or, with ink, like it doesn't exactly quite translate 1-to-1. So like every scene with Tamara in it, I had to go through and be like, all right, well, this scene is like out in the bright summer. So we're going to shift her hair a little brighter and a little pinkier so that it'll print well. And then this scene, it's like a dark, moody scene. So we're going to shift it a little darker and a little bluer. So that was, she presented a unique and interesting challenge while I was coloring the book.
So some fans might ask, why not just alter the color of her teal or pink hair just the slightest bit so that it's continuous? Or like, Lauren, was this taking the colors from the original show or from the style guide? Or why choose this particular teal and pink? Why makes poor Sarah's life difficult?
We were lucky enough to have the original style guides to work off of. 41 Entertainment was very, very generous with what they gave us to go off of. It was like that email where they said, here's everything we have, was a treasure trove. Not to completely geek out, but it was a very delightful email. Like, I think I threw up a status on Slack that was just like the little glitter emoji that was basically like, BRB, I'm not responding to emails. I'm having the time of my life right now.
3 days later.
Yeah.
I fully trust Sarah as a creator, and we will always have this, not only my eyes confirming things against what we have from the licensor, but we also have the licensor approving things before things go to print. So I will double check things, but the licensor always has the ability to be like, hey, that's not, we need to modify things. And the licensor does 100% give notes on things and say, hey, things aren't looking quite right. But they were so pleased with how Sarah had done things. And I think that Sarah's effort really paid off, because everyone, when that first book came out, immediately recognized the girls. Like when that cover dropped, the response online was so overwhelmingly positive. I remember sitting in bed and like scrolling through comments where people immediately recognized the girls. They immediately recognized like Tamara and Fallon and Gwen. And so I think the amount, even though it sounds like it was very frustrating, adjusting for sunlight and adjusting for mood and adjusting for cloud cover, it really did pay off. And in book 2, adjusting for carnival lighting.
Log flume lighting.
Yeah. And, it's all just part of the process. Like it's everything you do, like you're adjusting things based on lighting and mood and environment and feeling and vibe. So, it's not a hardship to tweak these colors, to get it dialed in, to get it to suit the aesthetic that you're going for. Like it's all part of the job. And it's part of what I really like about coloring, is figuring out how to do these little adjustments to make you feel something.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because I cannot imagine seeing this in black and white almost. It's, I'd almost love to see a few of the just the ink pages and see the comparison because, when Sarah, you're talking about adding the magical effects, I guess that's something I never really thought about, the colorist adding themselves. So I think that's really cool. And it's like, Maverick social media, if you'd love to share a couple of side by side images, I would love to see it.
Hint,
So
hint,
in
hint.
book 2, we have Morgana, who appears with that glitchy effect,
Yes.
and seeing that glitchy effect without Sarah's color over it is very interesting.
Okay.
Because so much of that glitch is Sarah. And so you have to use your imagination looking at it as an editor because, yeah, it's definitely just Morgana standing there for the most part. And that Sarah's going to come in and make it look a little bit like TV static.
Yeah. Like, here's the line art. Trust the process.
And I do want to say that it was like seeing Koi's take on Morgana was so cool because that design is like, I think Lady Kale is very iconic and very unique, but like getting to see that glitchy, cool, in an ice cave, almost dreamlike Morgana when everything came together was so cool for me. And then having to sit on it for months and not talk about it and not being able to show anyone but like my coworkers and be like, look at this thing that no one's going to get to see for a really long time. So I'm going to force you guys to look at it.
I love that it also goes back to the original appearance of Morgana in the series in the end of season 1, where she's an illusion in a mirror that they see for the first time. So I loved that callback to that as an appearance for her. So
that was something that Jordy found, and she was very, very, very excited about. We are one of the things that we have really loved doing with this series is going back and pulling things from the original TV show, and that kind of serve as callbacks and a little bit of a nod to the original series, but they can stand on their own a little bit, like with the mermaids at the beginning of this book. We were very, very excited to include the mermaid design, but the mermaid designs are obviously not serving the same function that they did in the original TV show. They're just here because I think together as a team, we all kind of agreed that they were great, and we needed to include them.
Well, I mean, they were gonna, was it the second wave of toys was going to have a mermaid Tamara.
Yeah.
So obviously, Greg knew that was going to be a good selling idea to have them as mermaids. Two things that you guys were talking about, and then I'm going to go into the next part of it. But, Sarah, when you were talking about the coloring and about the teals and Lauren, when you were noting that the fans recognized, obviously they're like, oh, this is Tamara, this is Gwenevere, this is Fallon, because of the coloring. And this is something that with the original art director from the cartoon series that we talk about is the color palettes for each of the girls, is that as a toy designer, Greg knew that if we create these palettes and that when children identify and say, okay, Princess Gwenevere is pink, Tamara is teal, Fallon is purple. Every time we see these characters, in the same way that any other Disney child will see Belle and know yellow, or Ariel is purple and green. Like, those are just colors that about these characters. And so that if you even Disney bounding, like, if you started wearing an all pink outfit, like, if you did your hair just right, someone might say, oh, that's Princess Starla. Like, I know who that is, So I think that the color palettes do have a lot to play into, who these characters are. And I know that we did talk a little bit at length about the styling of the characters, and I will get to that. But the other thing that I wanted to say was about the calling back to the previous episodes. Within the first, I think, a couple of panels, as you mentioned, the mermaids, I mean, there was so much back calls. I mean, you're talking about Gilly, and you're talking about the Pearl, and you're talking about Sorrel and the Riverdales. I'm like, my God, like, just so many references in the first page or so. Like, that was awesome. I loved it. And again, it was that fun little nugget for the people who are in the know. We're cool. We're like, we know what this is. But if you're a first time reader, this will still be something fun. You're like, oh, what's that? Like maybe they're going to talk about this again, or maybe I'm going to find out about it. But I do want to start off by telling a little bit of a synopsis of the comics. So before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, just reading the back of the cover, it says, Princess Gwenevere and the Jewel Riders have defeated Lady Kale, or so they think. While discord among the girls continues to grow, a new threat approaches Avalon. Kale, who has taken over the body of her queen sister, has begun her plans to overtake Avalon once and for all. Meanwhile, Drake struggles with his feelings of loss, no longer being in the wolf pack, and finds himself facing a new but familiar enemy. Alone in the icy wastes, the Jewel Riders must work together in order to rescue the Queen, free Drake, and defeat Lady Kale once and for all. Avalon depends on it. I mean, I'm in. Like that's a beautiful synopsis. I love it. Lauren, do you kind of want to talk about maybe the starting process? Since this episode we don't have Jordy with us, writing it. But what can you kind of say to the idea?
Yeah. So with this, the very first thing we wanted to do was look at everything that we left in book 1 and figure out how we needed to wrap it up in book 2. And for those of you that read book 1, there were a lot of things that happened in book 1. Because we were, when you approach a series like this, and you're doing a lot, we are aging characters up, we're giving everyone new arcs, and we're being respectful of the original process. It's a lot all to manage in 120 pages. So we want to be sure that every single panel is serving a purpose, and we're being sure that we are mentioning Gilly's Pearl and Sorrel, and we're being good to new readers, but we're also, we're being kind to old readers. So it's a big balancing act, and we're being sure that we're tying everything up with a nice, neat bow, and we're completing everyone's arcs. So it is kind of think of it as trying to like serve everyone in a restaurant, basically, a little bit. So that was the process. Was we sat down and we looked at everything that we still had to accomplish.
You got the adult menu and the children's menu at the same time.
And that was the beginning of the process. And we also knew that we wanted to bring Morgana in. That was one of the big things that we wanted to do, kind of to reflect how she appeared in season 2 of the show. Is we knew we wanted her in there. We love Lady Kale. Honestly, I think it's one of those things that we laughed about, that like, I think the team loves Lady Kale and the team loves Tamara. And we would put a lot of Tamara content and a lot of Lady Kale content in there, and that would have been the whole book.
No complaints here. Hashtag Tamara forever.
That's so that was kind of how we approached it. It was just a list of everything we wanted to achieve, and that list went back to Jordy, and Jordy and I sorted them into chapters together. And it was a matter of figuring out how we were going to piece all of those things together. We knew that we wanted Drake to kind of finish mourning the loss of his old life, basically. Because we wanted it as this almost reflection of because one of the things that always fascinated me about the show was that we get these sentences about how Gwen's parents, that they used to be a jewel rider and a member of the pack, and they used to be very cool. Not that they aren't cool as like real adults, but that they used to be these very big adventurers, and now they are retired. And the idea of this like looming retirement, and I feel like if I was in the middle of being very cool, and was constantly reminded that someday I'm going to retire, that would freak me out, and I too would run off to maybe go be a fisherman and grow a beard. And so we wanted to do that. So literally it was making a list and crafting chapters, and that was the process. And I know that sounds a little kind of methodical and not very like exciting and creative. And it was going through and working with the episodes or consulting the style guides, or in some cases the show Bible. And one of the things that I'm very excited about is that in the show Bible, there was an abandoned idea for a time jewel that was supposed to appear in season 3. And that was talking about reflections of time and being able to step into memories. And I was like, perfect. I love this so much. This is what we're doing. And you see some of that in book 1. And we were able to bring that into book 2 and make it very clear that that's what's going on with the bracelet. We're expanding this concept of discussing mourning and discussing how do you move on from the past. And so that was the process with Jordy. It's a lot of conversation. It's a lot of talking about friendship and growth and how are we wrapping up everyone's loose ends. And a lot of list making and a lot of hyperlinking images.
Lots of sunglasses.
Sorry, I feel like that was a very
biker sheep.
I realized that was a very clinical answer.
No, I mean, I love it. I think that a lot of questions went through my mind as I was reading it, more from like, I think that we've talked about this before, but it's like, what is this book? Is it the reboot? Is it the sequel? Is it a retelling? Because there was so many things in there that was like, yes, but for us fans, this is dependent on knowing this about the show in order for this to have happened. And I think that that's kind of where we're at. So I guess at the end of the day, what the biggest question that we're trying to understand is, as a fan, and this is what I'm understanding it as, it's like, take your knowledge that you know from the show, but then read it as a brand new fan, because this isn't a reboot. It's not a sequel. It's not anything like that.
I've been looking at it kind of like I look at the Star Wars TV shows.
Like a soft reboot.
Like, you know how I know very little about Star Wars. I was not raised in a science fiction household, which, like, I was not raised on Star Trek or Star Wars at all. And so
we won't hold that against you.
So no, I'm coming into it all as an adult. And my husband has like 30 more years of information in his head about Star Wars than I do.
My husband will soon be in your position.
And so when we sit down and we watch like Andor, or we watch any of the TV shows, he is viewing almost an entirely different TV show than I am viewing. And that's kind of the way that I view it. Like, if he were to pick up Jewel Riders, he is reading a completely different book than I am reading. If that makes sense.
No, I think that's a great analogy. Yeah. I like it.
So there's 2 different stories going on here. I wanted to tell a little story from our the toy museum thing. There was a little girl that came in, and she was maybe like 9, and she walked in reading something, and she realized I was selling books, and I gave her a copy of Jewel Riders, and she sat down, and she started reading the comic, and she looked up and realized that they were showing the TV show on the big screen, and I was watching her go between the comic in her hands and the big screen that was showing the TV show, and this realization that like it was the same thing, and her face just lit up. And I remember thinking like, man, even if we don't, like, I'm always going to have this moment of like watching this kid enjoy this book and enjoy the show. And it was like, I know this is an incredibly cheesy thing to say, but it was such a nice moment for me to have this girl just sitting there, like reading the book and being like transported to Avalon, like fully and completely like between book and show. And I was just, it was great. It was a really nice moment. That was just beautiful. Really special to me.
That is awesome. And I think that your analogy of watching these like other side stories to these classic characters that we know and love, I mean, it's the same way that Disney, I often use Disney as analogies, but, they have these other books about the villains. And it's like, the story of the evil queen is not canon. Walt never wanted that in the 1937 movie, but I can read the book, The Fairest One of All, and I can be like, I can see that. I can understand that, even though it's not canon per se. So I think the difference is that, like, working with the licensor, you are able to actually utilize, like, okay, these are references to the real story, or these are the real characters.
And I don't know who makes like the final call on, like, I don't know who swings the canon hammer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I don't know the laws of canon. I like, these are licensed, and it's like, I have gotten to work with canon.
Mm-hmm.
I have, and that's like a dream come true for me. I've gotten to do things and work with the canon, and gotten to, like, we got to adjust Fallon's boots in book 1. We made them ever so slightly taller, which I don't think anyone noticed, really, but
I was like,
noticed.
Was that a win for Lauren? Was Lauren sitting up at night thinking that Fallon's boots are too short?
It wasn't a secret thing that I was bothered by, but it was a thing that we, like, modified, because it was like, when we were working on the costumes, we were, like, ever so slightly tweaking some things. But yeah, it's the way that I kind of view, like, the Star Wars things. But, like, the Star Wars shows are canon, but if you have 30 years of Star Wars knowledge and you're like me, where, like, my Star Wars knowledge is very spotty, and I'm watching Andor, I am watching an entirely different show than you are with your 30 years of Star Wars knowledge.
100%. Yes. And I think that one of the things I wanted to definitely give you guys kudos for is because, from my frame of reference, I'm seeing the second comic as the second season of what we knew of the show. And as fans have said over and over again, we love the first season. The second season is different,
questionable.
It had some interesting choices. I mean, there were mermaids in it, so that was a cool thing. But overall, as you mentioned, Morgana became the big bad. It almost seemed like Kale took a second seat to Morgana in the second season, and there was a lot of focus more on, like, going outside of Avalon, because they were no longer looking for the crown jewels. So that changed in the story. And for me, reading this, I told Chris the other day, I was like, honestly, this is the best second season telling I have ever seen. Like, I mean, again, it's like, it's not the second season, but to me it is a second season, and I'm like, this is way better than the show ever was for the second season. So congratulations.
We talked about it, and we're like, in the second season of the show, they really leave Avalon, and they leave this world that they spent all this time creating. And we thought you guys did such an amazing job with coming back into Avalon and going deeper into that world instead of going out of it. And we thought, like, what a great direction to go for book 2, to just, go deeper into the characters, deeper into the world, and, deeper into the experience and the emotions. And so it was fabulous.
That's something that I want to credit Jordy and the rest of the creative team with. They really wanted to dive deeper, like Jordy especially, into this concept of mourning. There is this undercurrent of loss in the books, that I think, for a book that is as candy colored as Sarah made it, everyone is, I don't want to say sad in the books, but everyone is dealing with a loss, and a lack of control. And we really see that in book 2. And book 2 allowed us to play with that, where Kale straight up at the beginning of the book says that she feels a loss of power. And that's why she's doing what she's doing. She has never felt in control. She wants that control. And and we have that whole friendship carnival thing because of a loss of friendship, and everyone is dealing with loss, and we are going not only deeper into Avalon in the book, but we're going kind of deeper into people's psyches And even in the I think I would have to go to the specific page I almost opened up volume 1, which is physically in front of me, and that Tamara is reading.
Oh, yes. Something
Yes,
about your friends are, and so are you.
Friends are complicated, and so are you.
Yes, I saw that.
I laughed out loud when I saw that title.
It is the message of the book.
Well,
it's the message of what we're doing.
It's funny because, when we talk about the original cartoon series, as beloved as it is, you have to admit that it's TVY7. It's aimed at a very young audience. And Chris and I were talking and we're like, okay, but you realize that no matter what the ages are in the pages, these characters are like basically 40-year-olds. Like, we're all struggling with like psychological, like social, like problems. And we're like, this is why our generation, the generation that watched this back in 1995, are loving this comic, because it's like, okay, these are dealing with like things that we deal with as like 40-year-old adults.
Yeah, like what happens to your friendships as you age, and
exactly, you guys grow apart and things like this. I mean, there was so many elements to it. So it's like, for me personally, I'm like, I think I got so into it because there was so many references to just kind of like aging and what you're thinking and the way that you interact with friends and just, I mean, everything. But then yet you're still having Gwenevere over here throwing temper tantrums and being ridiculous about things, and it's like, okay.
Being a teenager is so hard.
Right?
Like,
yes. And that was the one thing, is that it almost seems like everyone is maturing except for Gwenevere. She's has her own maturity growth. She has her own story that she's working on right now. And it's like, you see it in some points, and then other points you're just like, oh my gosh, Gwenevere, like girl, get it together,
Well, it's like sometimes when you read a YA book as an adult and you're like, oh no, I'm identifying with the adults in this book and not the protagonist.
Right? You're like, oh gosh, I'm King Triton. Yeah. But Ariel, just get in your room. Just go cover up and get in your room. Put a shirt on. So yes, I mean, but that is the thing. And I was going to say that for me personally, it's a positive thing about this book, is that there were so many little things. And I mean, and we talked at length about Archie. I mean, it must have been so fun to color and draw Archie, because he is the sassiest little owl I've ever seen. And in some of those scenes where he wraps himself in a scarf and he's like, I can't feel my feathers, but I look fabulous. I mean, things like that just made me laugh out loud. Like, seriously, I think that this book has so much going for it. There's so much laughter. There's like true reflection. I mean, even if it wasn't even purposeful, it's like the writing when you're talking about Merlin, and Archie is like, oh, well, I thought Merlin was the master at projection. Like, I heard it through a psychological projection, not just, sparkly projections. So for me, again, there was all this like kind of like second meaning stuff that could be taken different ways. I loved it. I loved it.
I love the way that Sarah did the actual Merlin projection with the rainbow. Like, you truly were cooking in the Friendship Carnival. Like,
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely cooking.
The Friendship Carnival, I think, was one of my favorite parts to color of book 2. It was like so many different lights and sparkles and effects and bouquet and auroras and like literally everything in the kitchen sink in these pages. And like, it was great. And yeah, like Merlin showing up at the end as like this glowing rainbow projection. That one, I have to give like a lot of props to Coy. In one of the panels on one of the pages, Merlin is doing like this fancy aurora that Coy included in there. I'm like, okay, we're taking that. We're running with it. Like, I just leaned into that aesthetic for Merlin's entire appearance for that scene. And it's one of those things where it's like, I might not necessarily have gone in that specific direction if it wasn't for like that effect that Coy put in there. So it all just kind of like fed into each other and wound up with like a really cool, shimmery, aurora-y, rainbowy, glowy magic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sarah, I've got to ask you because I am reviewing the pages. And in the first book, I think that obviously it's still colorful, but I feel like there was a little bit of an advancement in the second book. I mean, I don't know if that was just your own journey or if that was purposeful. Like you're like, okay, I'm starting to understand what this world is. But I mean, there was just so many different more like shadings and like different variations. And as we talked about, like with like images, like the contrast and the blending and things like that. Like, was there something personal journey going there, or was that just kind of a style direction, or what happened?
I think it's just like the natural evolution of doing something so many times that you gain a greater skill and a greater confidence in what you're doing. When I started coloring volume 1, it was the second and a half book I'd ever colored professionally. And so now like getting into volume 2, like I'd been a professional colorist for like a number of years at that point. I had more books under my belt. I just had a wider breadth of skills and confidence in my abilities. And like, it's cool that it's showing that I'm growing in my abilities.
Yes, very much so. I really do love it. I think that the colors are so pretty and I love the choices. I mean, I personally love pinks, and I know I would make an entire comic in all pink, but I know that wouldn't do justice to the world. So it can't
Barbara
all be
Roberts
my little...
might have to come for you
I
then.
know. Barbie would disagree, and Lauren's room over there would disagree. But, I think that there truly is something to be said to be able to say, okay, now we're going to be in the icy peaks, which now I have a side rant, but it's like, all the blues and all the, like the colors of the ice. I just want to say, when we're in the icy peaks, I was expecting the Hall of Wizards at any moment, and I was not given the Hall of Wizards.
It's one of those things where I think I'm going to keep bringing up Star Wars. Part of as I speak of something that I do not have 30 years of knowledge on, with just the utmost confidence. The world of Avalon is so expansive. And when you have 120 pages, you have to be very careful about the things that you're introducing, especially for new readers. Because if I had introduced the Hall of Wizards, that opens up the question of who are the Hall of Wizards? How much space can I devote to explaining the Hall of Wizards? What am I doing with the Hall of Wizards in a storytelling way? And like, where is the Hall of Wizards thing going? You have to kind of balance that. And so we stuck with just the icy part of the icy waste. And I know it's a little bit of kind of, from like a fan perspective, that we didn't get all the way into the Hall of Wizards and just kept it at the icy waste. But it's kind of the same with not introducing the crystal foxes or not doing Travel Trees Can't Dance. There are so many things in Avalon that the books could easily be 300 pages.
I wouldn't complain.
I was going to say that. I mean, maybe Sarah's time might be spent more, coloring all those Tamara images. But, I think that would be acceptable, right? I mean, I'm sure the listener would accept that. I know what you mean. I get it.
It becomes this balancing act of, we went in with the outline that we started with was very specific about the things that we wanted to touch on, and the balancing act that we were making for new readers and people that were familiar with it, and that kind of Star Wars thing of you're going into it with 30 years of knowledge and you're just a fresh reader, and finding that balance. And if you touch on something like the Hall of Wizards, then the Hall of Wizards is also like kind of a can of worms in and of itself. And when we were working on book 1, one of my dear friends in marketing found something in the style guide that was all of the crown jewels in the box. And she got very excited by the crown jewels in the box. She's like, what are these? Are these going to be in the book? And I was like, I am so sorry, but that is the plot of season 1, and we're not retelling the plot of season 1. And she's like, but I love these. They're so beautifully designed. What are we doing with them? I'm like, we are not.
We are not doing anything.
I love them too. I think they're great, but that's an entire season of a show. I would love to do that. I have 120 pages. that's like a crown jewel a page.
Yes.
And because I think that's one of the things that this license has really like blessed us with is such an expansive mythology, but we can't hit everything. So we can get to the icy wastes, but we can't get into the Hall of Wizards.
Well, I'll forgive you this one time.
I appreciate it.
And the reason why I'm going to forgive you is because not only did you give me mermaids, but you gave me this hunky fisherman over here who's on the docks of Avalon. I want to know, do all the fishermen look like Drake? Because if so, let's charter a boat or something.
You're going to throw yourself into the water.
Exactly. I mean, maybe if the lifeguards also look the same, I don't know.
Coy draws some of the most beautiful people I have ever seen. Coy's people are stunning every time. Like, just crazy, beautiful people. And then it's mixed in with a very expressive, over-the-top emotions. And then you get Archie being a goofy goober. Like, we talked about Sarah's joyful mail earlier, like exact same emotion. I would have to go do like a little lap around my house when I'd get an email from Coy because I would be so excited. Like, I already know what's going to be on the pages because I've read the script, but I know it's going to be so beautiful. Like, I know it's going to be fun. I know that like the expressions are going to be over the top and delightful. And there's this like one panel of Drake where he's in the icy wastes that when I saw it, I was just like, oh my goodness, like you did not have to draw him looking so when he is doing by the magic of the forest stone. I'm like, why did you like he looks great. Why did you draw him like that? He's beautiful.
If you ever want to sell that page,
together
I will
and
buy
drew him.
Yes. I mean, Coy's art is beautiful. The
whole team came together and made him beautiful.
Yes. I think that the action poses that Coy did, they were already really good in the first one, but I think that just like everyone else's personal growth, I've seen a change in his action poses, in his reaction poses. As you said, the over-the-top anime expressions, I think that they lent themselves very well to be like, okay, I can see the change in this character, and now that just made me laugh out loud. Like the expression that character gave, and of course, it's the shading, it's the coloring of that character. It's, if someone's blushing, like it makes me laugh, it makes me joyful. So all of those things came together beautifully. Something to note, I know that in the first conversation that we had about the first comic, we had talked about the Forest Stone, and we said that in some of the panels it was a diamond, and we asked why the change. When Hunky Drake is calling on the magic of the Forest Stone, the Forest Stone looks like the Forest Stone again. We were just wondering, was that a purposeful change, or was that just Coy being like, okay, I'm gonna draw it the way that it looks like in the style guide?
We went back through, and the Forest Stone does seem to have like variation with regard to its shape, especially with regard to the king. Everybody seems to have a different shape Forest Stone. And I think that kind of comes back to like, this is a show for girls, so all the boys are a little bit
inconsistent,
underdeveloped, underbaked.
Exactly. They're raw. they're still gooey. They still have egg in them.
But I want to speak to Jordy when we introduced Jordy, like when we brought Jordy on. She really looked at Drake and said, "No, I think that we need to give this man some growth."
Mm-hmm.
And she did. Mm-hmm. Like, by golly, Drake left book 2 a better man.
Mm-hmm.
And I am grateful. I am delighted with Drake's character growth, editorially and as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the greatest gifts I feel like we got out of this book was giving him, the growth that he always probably should have had in this show.
But it's also, I think books are so special because you can do so much in them. You have so much space to play, like doing colors the way that Sarah does colors in a TV show, I am sure would be astronomically like expensive. I don't know how pricing works in TV, but I would assume it would be bananas.
Well, considering that they were all hand painted cells, they probably wanted to limit it as much as possible to a certain palette. Yeah.
But there's still the backgrounds and things like that. Like, you still had a lot of colors. That does actually go into my next question, though. This is a story and a color question. So we find out that Kale has taken over Adriana. I had to change it, not Anya. Her body. So I'm going to first ask Sarah, is there any identifiers there color-wise that you made for us to signal, like, okay, this isn't the real Adriana, this is Kale? I did notice that her eyes were red. Was that really the only thing?
That was the big indicator, was that her eyes were red, which wasn't in the script or anything. I was just like, this is the kind of series that I think relies really heavily on color cues for like character and emotion and things like that. And I was like, if this kind of thing had happened in the show, her eyes would glow red. Like that's the kind of thing that these cartoons would do. And so I didn't want to give her like, laser eyes or anything.
Like a cat in a photo.
Yeah, but just that little nod to like, all right, this isn't Adriana, this is Kale. So when we see her, she's got her red eyes. And at the end, when we see Adriana in Kale's body, her eyes are blue. And the power, like the color of their magic also matches as well. So when Kale is using her magic, it's always red, regardless of whether she's in her own body or in Adriana's body. And similarly, when Adriana shows up at the end and like blasts Kale with her own magic, it comes in as blue. And even though she's in Kale's body. So like just sort of making everything color coded. That's just kind of what I was going for.
That was a little subtle because actually I think that I realized that the magic was colored different, but I didn't realize it. Like visually, I didn't really pick up on that. I only saw the red eyes. But the reason why I saw that is because that is the toy's fun magic thing, is that the Lady Kale toy has red glowing eyes. So did you not know that? Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is her thing. And it's funny because some of those things that they did for them in the toys only happen in one episode. And this only happens in one episode. It's the finale of the first season, is that once she's like taken over and she's like being possessed by all the crown jewels, and she has Merlin's staff, she has red glowing eyes. So you kind of see, you've been working on this project so long that now you're channeling your inner 1995 colorist. You know that that's the one to do.
I just instinctively tapped into it.
Right?
You saw a commercial in 1995 and you remembered it on a subconscious level.
Right. So now, from a story perspective, Lauren, if you can channel Jordy here,
Yes.
Are we going to find out how this change happened, or did we see it in the first book and we just didn't realize that happened?
You saw it in the first book.
I did. Okay.
Yes.
Apparently I did.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It happens really fast. In the first book, it is in basically the big kazap that happens. There is a large raccoon.
That split screen one where it has like Anya or Adriana
it's literally
Kale.
the last page of the book. In the dialogue,
it
references.
Okay.
There's an earlier bit of dialogue in the book, I believe, that Merlin says, where he is describing the sisters as the sword, as the blade and the hilt of Avalon, and he says that the blade has become the hilt.
Oh. See, I didn't understand that to mean that they switched bodies. I just understood it as like Anya somehow, like she has a shard of Kale inside her or something. Like it was, very confusing. So I think that for me, it's like understanding. I'm like, okay, I see. So she's possessed. Okay, but how and when did that happen? So I think all of us.
It had the jewel. So there's a bit with the jewel cracking. And jewel breaks, crack, broken jewel, body swap, dialogue from Merlin called back, and we have the bit about the sword parts swapping. Because I loved that line when Jordy wrote it. And I thought literally the entire time we were writing book one, that line haunted me. The first time she wrote it, when she was talking about the sisters specifically, I was like, God, we should use that line somewhere else in the book, because I keep thinking about it.
About the sword on the hilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little Arthurian sort of feeling, isn't it?
Right? Yes, it ties it together. Another thing that I was a little confused on, so two other things. There is, during the battle with Sunstar, where Gwenevere is trying to get Sunstar reined back in and understand who she is, there's flashback hearts around the page that shows like them meeting and like Sunstar and Gwenevere are together. One of the hearts has a woman and a baby with a unicorn. My question is that supposed to be where Gwenevere first met Sunstar, or is that a future bubble?
A future. That is a future
Gwenevere
bubble. That is
with her
Guinevere's
daughter.
Future child meeting Sunstar.
I
that
thought
is the official
so. Okay.
statement. That originally that is Guinevere's future child meeting Sunstar.
I see. And I mean,
that is an official statement from me.
Okay, there you go.
How that page is meant to be interpreted.
No, that's perfect, because I mean, I know like within the Dreamfields cartoon episode, you see Drake and Guinevere, and then all of a sudden at the end of the second season, she's with Ian, and it's like, well, wait a minute, what happened to Drake? But then in this second comic, they do say, well, I'm going to end up marrying Drake. Like, it's going to happen. Like, this is, but it's not going to happen right now. So
yeah.
I think that all of those things, that's the way that I put it together. My other question is regarding Merlin. We find out at the end that he's kind of going through like a detox. So he's gone to the fairyland and he's meeting up with Odeon, and they're having tea and they're trying to fix
wearing his
time.
Blow Me to Bermuda outfit.
Yes. And they're working on that time jewel, the one that you mentioned earlier. But my question is that Merlin seems to be missing again. Like in the beginning of the comic, we don't really understand it. So I guess that kind of gets answered throughout the reading of the comic. But again, that's kind of the question of, it's like, well, wait a minute. Is this like after the second season again, where it's like the one jewel has already happened and then this is happening? Then I have to remind myself, no, it's not that. This is just a standalone. And it's very confusing, because I'm like, wait a minute, is Merlin missing again? Did he not come back after the wild magic? Like, I'm just confused.
This is a separate not coming back. He did not return at the end of book one, because look, Kale is a terrifying force of nature. They've done a body swap. He is just, sometimes you have to go to the fairylands and sort yourself out.
Retreat.
Fairylands, spa, and retreat.
So in this retelling, though, because again, I know that you said that, your coworker was like, well, what are we going to do with the crown jewels? In this world, just out of curiosity, are the crown jewels and the idea that Merlin was blown into the wild magic and their whole quest to get Merlin back, is that ever going to be or has been referenced, or does that not matter? Like,
we've not referenced it. It's something that I really hold dear as a fan, and something that if I had the opportunity to do another book, I would immediately tackle, because I love season one with my whole heart. I think the crown jewels are great. But it's one of those things that I think it works very well as a TV show, because it's very episodic in nature. And because Maverick works in graphic novels, I don't know that it would work as well. It would work very well as like an actual comic book series. because it's so episodic, but I don't know that it would work in like this format. I just remembered we were on a podcast and no one can see me
yes.
holding up a graphic novel. And so when the crown jewels, it did happen, but I don't know that it did have as like large a significance. So it kind of becomes a like background thing here. Yes.
I think that that's understood. I get what you're saying. I guess it's just like for me to understand the world is that, you know, are we to infer that we're supposed to know, or does it not matter that at one point
it ends up really not mattering.
Okay.
I would love for it to matter. Like but you come down to like, it's such a complex world and it's so big. I think infer that it happened, but this can be kind of like read separately from
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I think you can infer that it happened because they've defeated Kale at the end of
They have.
at the beginning of Volume
Like, Kale
1.
was gone. Kale was banished.
And they even mentioned that Stone, but then again, like that's the second season. But I think that it's just for me, it's like, you know, when you're reading this, you're like, Merlin's back in the wild magic again. Like, you know, like
Poor man can't get out.
Merlin just he's drawn to the wild magic.
Right.
He just, like a magnet, he can't stay away.
And I love
It's
that the
ridiculous.
Aurora colors of him in the end are very wild magic. And, you know,
Yes.
it ties back to that same beautiful palette that they use for the wild magic.
Well, I can't wait for all of the fans to read this. If you haven't already picked up your copy, make sure to do so because you're going to need to know all these fun things, and hopefully we haven't spoiled anything for you. So I guess we should have told us first, but you should have read it first and then now come back to us. But
there were definitely things that I thought you were going to ask that you didn't ask. So I'm excited for people to get to read those things.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a surprise. And Lauren, do you want to tell us all about the ordering information and all that fun stuff?
Yes, you can order the book on Mad Cave's website if you go to madcavestudios.com. And click on the little part that says Maverick. It's available to order there. You can also order it wherever you order books by typing in.
Is there a special edition this time around?
There is no special. No, there's no special edition this time around. Unfortunately, I think that was just for book one. But I'm really, really glad we got to do that one for book one because it was so exciting to have a shiny book. And I really want to thank you guys for being as generous with your time and especially for putting your collection on loan with the Houston Toy Museum for that launch event for book one. I really appreciated it, getting to see that stuff in real life. It was really special to me as a fan. And thank you so much for having me and Sarah on to talk about book as well.
And thank you so much for being here. I mean, you've been an incredible friend, not only of the archive, but also in this project. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to present some of these behind the scenes fun things to the fans without you guys. Sarah, do you want to let fans know where they can find any of your work or if they want to find more of the stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, so the only social media I use anymore is Instagram. I am Sarah Davidson Art on Instagram. And by the time this episode comes out, my second book in my Jackson's Wilder Adventures series will have come out. It's an early reader series I'm doing with Paper Cuts, which is their young readers imprint of Mad Cave. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what I got.
Fantastic.
All right. And if you want to find more from the Jewel Writers Archive, you can, of course, visit us at our home on the web at jewelwritersarchive.com, or you can find us on Instagram at Jewel Writers Archive, or on YouTube at Jewel Writers Archive. And of course, if you want to hear more from the podcast, you can find us on any of your major podcast platforms or our home on Podbean. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We can't wait for you to read the exciting Volume 2 of Princess Gwenevere and the Jewel Riders, out now from Maverick. And as we always like to end every episode, friends together, friends
forever. Thanks,
all
everyone.
Right. Bye. Have a magical
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.